welcome to a brand new episode of Coming Distractions brought to you by the Nerdpocalypse podcast. I'm your host, Jay. Okay, guys, let's talk Ford versus Ferrari. So this one's directed by James Mangold, who did Logan, 3:10 to Yuma, Walk the Line. This is starring Matt Damon and Christian Bale. Matt Damon plays Carroll Shelby, very famous race car driver, sports car, builder and what have you. If you know anything about cars, you know Shelby Cobras, the version of a Mustang. That's Carroll Shelby, very first American to win the Le Mans race, the 24-hour race. And so the film focuses on him and his relationship and friendship with Ken Miles, played by Christian Bale, who is sort of this mechanic slash racer who kind of gets in his own way all the time, but is this like sort of pure racer, as Carroll Shelby refers to him. So the film deals with the 66 Le Mans race. As it starts, we see the tail end of the Le Mans race that Carroll Shelby won. Again, he was the first American to ever do it. And so because of a heart issue, he has to give up racing before he kind of wants to. Fast forward to 1966, where he's, running his own company, building cars and selling cars and things like that. And Henry Ford II wants him to basically come in, build them a race car, and get somebody to race it at Le Mans. So hopefully they do well. And if they can win, that's great, right? So there's sort of this whole idea that Ferrari has just been winning it time and time again. So they're trying to figure out a way to push Ford up, because Ford is kind of hitting a peak and is not doing amazingly well. And they're sort of just kind of plateauing, but they need something that's going to sort of inspire their customers and who want to get a Ford, right? But Ford makes like the pretty standard car, so who cares? So Lee Iacocca, played by John Barenthal, has this idea: hey, why don't we get into the Le Mans race, and even if we don't win, we might bring enough, fanfare to Ford that we can, start to sell more cars. And again, they employ Carroll Shelby to do that, to find a racer to build a car and, make them, as popular as they can be. So there's this weird rivalry between Henry Ford II and Enzo Ferrari throughout the film. And it's sort of like two masterful managers, right, of these incredibly popular, for different reasons, car companies. One being more of the like everyman's car, and then obviously Ferrari being the high-end sports car that it is. That part is an interesting aspect in and of itself. The other side of that is Ken Miles and Carroll Shelby's relationship, which is the real driver of the film, right? Like I said, Ken Miles is kind of this guy who just can't get out of his own way. He's just kind of a prick. Like he just kind of is. And Carroll Shelby is kind of a prick too, but has learned to kind of use his personality to get what he wants in life and to kind of, make his way. They've been long friends, and he eventually kind of convinces Ken Miles, hey, why don't you come race for Ford? And then there's sort of like internal conflict at Ford that they don't want him to race for them, and yada, yada, yada. At its core, the movie is a underdog sports story, right? And it works in that aspect very, very well. It feels like it hits all those same beats of that sort of sports story that you like. It's like, oh, the ragtag team, going against the great opponent, that being Ferrari in this case. Ford, they build the GT40, and it is just a monster of a car. And it's just, it's sort of that, it plays to that whole like American muscle versus, or in this case, it's just a kind of a supercar, but like that idea of like the American muscle aesthetic and style versus like the sleek European, in this case, Italian style. So even the teams are kind of like that, like they both kind of emphasize those differences in the countries and in the personalities. The movie really hinges on Christian Bale and Matt Damon's performances, which are great. They're really, really good. This is I was really super looking forward to this because I think it's one of the better trailers that we've gotten of the sort of Oscar baity films. So I was really digging the trailer. I really dug the story. I thought it was cool. I purposely didn't know like the true ending of how this story ended. So I just kind of went in blind. So I enjoyed all of those aspects. I thought Damon and Bale together were great on screen. They just like really had good chemistry. Like Miles and Shelby kind of fought a lot, like kind of like the Odd Couple kind of sort of scenario. Like if they were brothers, you'd believe it. And they always kind of just pushed at each other and pushed each other in good and bad ways. Where the movie falters is that the movie is underwritten for their performances. Like there are some awesome moments. Like there's some really great race car moments at the end, especially that just feel intense. Like the whole latter third of the movie, that third act is just the entire race. And it is just great. Like it's got suspense and like, oh, is he going to make it? Is he not going to make it? What happens with this? And, all these kind of things. And it's got a little bit of comedy to certain beats and everything. And that all really, really works. The first act struggles, like the movie struggles to kind of catch its footing in the first, I would say 15 to 20 minutes. But once it kind of catches its footing and you kind of put Ken Miles and Carroll Shelby together, once they're together, from that point on, the movie totally works. So when I say it's underwritten, what I mean by that is just like they are, as those two actors, they are outpacing everything about that script because the script just it's not meaty enough for their performances. Another person who really shines is Tracy Letts, who plays Henry Ford II. He's so good. He's so good in that role as just like this, like this business only guy who kind of comes to a revelation throughout the film of like what his father's company really meant and what it really represents in a lot of ways. But he's also kind of a dick. And it just worked. Like it just super worked. It was really great. John Barenthal as Lee Iacocca was great. Like he didn't have a lot to do, but the moments he had on screen he just kind of was like an ideas guy, and you could see like the marketing ideas and things like that from him, and it just kind of worked if you know anything about Lee Iacocca. But the underwriting of the overall story and the characters weren't underwritten, but the overall story was. That's what hurts the movie. And when I say hurts it, meaning I'm taking it from a 5 to a 4 out of 5. It's like it's almost there. It almost turns the corner of like just being like a really great movie, but instead it's just a very good movie. But again, like the race car scenes were great. If you're into racing and things like that, you'll dig it. And if you know the story, you'll dig how it's presented and how it ends. But I wanted more. I wanted them to dig in a little bit more, and just give those guys, especially the two main guys, just give them a little bit more to do. And I just felt like they kind of just didn't nail it. But Ford versus Ferrari is a very good movie. I definitely would recommend it, but not great. And I was looking for great, but we just got very good. So 4 out of 5 for Ford versus Ferrari, and we'll see you next time. You're watching the Nerdpocalypse YouTube channel. Make sure you click that button to subscribe and check out our weekly podcast where we talk about movie, TV, news, tech, and weird stories from around the internet.